Hey everybody, what's going on? HexLex here, got some more Master Duel video. In today's video, we are going to be taking a look at some replays again, this time from the stream I did tonight. I'm recording this just a little while after I ended the live stream that I started on the evening of the 14th. And we had a lot of fun in the stream. We played some Zoodiac. We got a generous donation from Birdman, who in turn asked us to take a look at his pure Lyrilusc deck. So we did that. And yeah, we just had a lot of fun in general. So I wanted to share actually some of the games from the stream. For those of you who... I do have the VOD, should be in the channel. If you click on my channel, it should be among my videos. It should be in the Master Duel playlist. If you're subscribed to me, it should have shown up in the subscription feed as well. But that said, you know, it was a 4.5 hour stream. I totally understand if not everybody wants to watch all of that. So I figured I'd put together a little bit of a highlight reel for you guys. So like I said, one of the things that happened that was pretty cool was Birdman very generously donated to us and asked us to take a look at his deck. So this is actually something I kind of want to float by you guys. It's an idea I've been having, right? So I did get asked during the first live stream if I would possibly set up a Patreon. It's something I've been considering. Now, if you guys are interested in that, let me know. Here's some of the perks that I'm thinking you could possibly get for being a Patreon subscriber. The main ones being that, like Birdman with his deck here, if you're a patron, you know, maybe once a month or once every other week or so, I might throw out a thread and be like, hey, you want me to take a look at your deck? Post a link here, and then I'll do a, deck doctor sort of a thing where I take a look at the deck, maybe try it out, see some potential upgrades for you. I could also do a thing. I saw a comment asking if I would make videos where I look at people's replays and talk about the gameplay, maybe give some advice there. Also something I'm definitely up for doing. That could be a potential Patreon perk, as well as I've been asked about a possible Discord for the channel. I could see that being a Patreon perk. And it would not be, I wouldn't ask a lot of you guys. It definitely would not be more than $5 a month, and I don't even think I would go as high as $5 a month. So if you are interested in that, let me know in the comments below, and I will definitely look into that. In the meantime, let's take a look at the deck that we ended up building for Birdman here. This isn't the list we started with, but this is the one we landed on. So Birdman's whole idea was getting an OTK with a symbol Nightingale using Backup Rider. Now, Backup Rider, very simple effect, just gives one of your monsters, or any monster on the field, 1500 attack until the end of the turn. A symbol Nightingale, however, can attack multiple times during the battle phase and can attack directly. Also gains attack for each and attacks for each material attached to it. So that's the idea, right? We make a symbol Nightingale that's got, 4, maybe 5 materials on it, and then we play a Backup Rider on it, and then we just boom, 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 smack our opponent for lethal. For the most part, it plays like a fairly standard bird up deck, right? We look at the list here. We've got 1 DD Crow, 3 Cobalt Sparrow, 2 Sapphire Swallow, 3 Warbler, 3 Barrel Canary, 2 Wagtail. We've got 3 Maxx, 3 Ash, 1 Harpie's Feather Duster, 1 Monster Reborn, 1 1-for-1. 2 Where Art Thou? I did cut down 1 copy to make room for the Call by the Graves. I was playing 3 initially. 3 Backup Rider, as it is our... It is the meme of the deck, as Birdman so eloquently put it. 2 Lightning Storm. Again, I was actually running 3, but I took 1 out to make room for the called buys. We've got 3 Lyrilusc Bird Call, 1 Lyrilusc Bird Strike, 1 Bird Sanctuary. This can be useful for potentially setting up a lot of materials on an assembled Nightingale. We've got 2 Call By and 3 Infinite Impermanence. Now, here the extra deck is actually fairly interesting, right? We've got number 54, Lionheart, which, if you're not familiar with this card, it can't be destroyed by battle. When you take battle damage from battles involving it, you can inflict that an equal amount of damage to your opponent, and you can also detach materials to make your opponent just take the damage you would have taken instead. So that can be very useful, actually, a way to go for game, and we can even use Backup Rider on our opponent's monsters to Lionheart. Of course, as we all know, Recital Starling has this ability as well. Then it makes our opponent take battle damage from battles from our monsters. So that is actually another way you can win with this deck. We've got some fairly standard bird up stuff, right? The F-Zeros, we've got 2 Recital Starling. We're playing 2 Assembled Nightingale instead of 1 because it is one of the main win conditions, so to speak, of our deck. We've got an Ensemble Robin, a Promenade Thrush, which is actually useful for clearing up a back row before we attack our opponent. We've got a Downerd and then a Zeus for the Downerd. For Link monsters, we're playing an Anima, a Ferrigite, a Simorg, and an Appalachia. You can go into these sometimes, but most of the time you're going to be sticking to your Xyz monsters with this variant. Okay, so without further ado, let's take a look at some of the replays. I'll be showing off the replays with Birdman's deck first, and then we're going to be looking at some fairly juicy replays with the Zoodiac. But this should be a Birdman Bird Up replay. Also want to thank Birdman again for his very generous donations, not only on the second stream, but on the first one as well. Yeah, very, very awesome, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Alright, we're going to go first here. It doesn't look like much of a hand, right? You see this hand, and actually people in chat were telling me to just concede with this hand, but I was like, no, we're going to play this out. We're going to start with 1-for-1, discarding Maxx, and I discarded Maxx specifically in case my opponent had their own Maxx so I could Ash it, which they did, so I was able to stop that. From here, we're able to go into a Cobalt Sparrow. From there, we normal summon the Wagtail that we just searched, and then overlay into the Recital Starling. Now from here we can just pretty much go into some standard bird up combos, right? We're going to detach and get Barrel Canary. Actually, a slight misplay on my part. I should have detached the Wagtail so I could special it here and get its effect at this point. Would have been the optimal play there, but with the Barrel Canary we can go ahead and get our second Recital Starling out and activate her effect. I'm going to get another Barrel Canary to set up for next turn since I've got the backup rider. It's not hard for me to set up a kill next turn. I'm going to go into F-Zero, and then on top of F-Zero, I'm going to make Utopic Draco. So, you know, even though all we had was 1-for-1, that's a very solid opening play. And actually, I'm currently looking to make room for 1-for-1 in my Tri-Brigade Bird Up deck as well. Because after experiencing what it can make here, which is, again, a Utopic Draco Future by itself, I definitely want to try this card in my standard Bird Up deck. So gotta thank Birdman there for giving me an excuse to craft it. Okay, so we see our opponent is playing Virtual World. Fortunately, we're able to stop the first effect, and that's going to keep them from really going off at all. Now here, our opponent is going to play the Virtual Gate Zanwu. Okay, that wasn't as hard to pronounce as I thought it was going to be. So since this card can change the battle position of our Assembled Nightingale, we're definitely going to need to deal with it first, right? So this is where I explained earlier that Promenade Thrush is going to come in handy, right? I'm going to begin by overlaying into Promenade Thrush, and then I'm going to shuffle the Virtual World Gate back into the deck. And then from there we can just special summon the Sparrow, and then the Warbler, make a 3-material Assembled Nightingale, which I said before that it was like 4 or 5 materials at OTK. No, I'll show you. I'm going to do it with 3. My apologies. It does end up being 5. Although if we only had 3 here, that would have been 2100 times 3. I mean, yeah, that's 6300 damage, which isn't quite lethal, but it's still a lot of damage. But that particular Assembled Nightingale, that was 12,500 direct damage. So that is like the core concept of the deck right there. And what was cooler too was this was the first game we played with it too. So that was really, really hype. I believe this was the other good game that we had with the Bird Up deck. We were actually plagued with a lot of really bad hands where we would go first, we'd open like all hand traps and stuff, so it was a little bit unfortunate, but like I said, we got a couple of really good games. Here's the other one here. So in this game, we're gonna kind of get to show off what Where Arf Thou can do. You can see our opponent's playing Sacred Beast, which is my first time actually playing against this deck. And our opponent's going to go ahead and drop a Haman, the Lord of Striking Thunder. Ah, oh, so cool, so flavorful. And they're going to play straight into this Maxx here. I don't really blame them, though, because, honestly, with Fallen Paradise set up, they're going to get to draw 2 cards here. And they can force me to shuffle back one of my cards. Not shuffle back, but put back one of my cards with the Diablo as well. So, yep, 2 special summons. Not too bad as far as playing into Maxx goes. We're going to Bird Call, but our opponent's going to have the negation. But I really just wanted to play the Bird Call to get the negation out of the way for these Where Art Thou's. Because as you can see, I'm going to summon Sparrow, and then I'm going to activate both of them for Swallow and Wagtail. Because Where Art Thou is not limited to once per turn. You can play multiple copies of it per turn. Just know that you're going to take 2,000 damage at the end of the turn for each copy you play, but that is a small price to pay for victory, I assure you. So yeah, from here we are able to Recital Starling, and we can set up this Barrel Canary here. Can special summon the Wagtail. I'm going to go straight into an Assembled Nightingale here and set it up with the Bird Sanctuary. This isn't unfortunately going to be lethal because we don't have our backup spell card in order to give it an extra 1500 attack, but you know, we can go and we can do 6,000 damage before we go into Zeus, a 6 material Zeus. So I was like, yeah, why not? Let's just go for it. Yeah, like I said, I'm just going to smack him for 6k and then go for Zeus. Oh, it's even a 7 material Zeus, so I'm even going to throw the Downard on top because, you know, why not? And I am absolutely going to want to use Zeus' effect here. Even though it's a quick effect, my opponent's just already got so much committed to the board. Plus, I'm going to set this Imperm. We take the 2,000 from each Where Art Thou. It's not that big of a deal, though, so... Now, unfortunately, our opponent is going to be able to find the Raigeki as the 6th card with the Pot of Prosperity. Unfortunate luck for us, but, you know, it's ultimately going to be fine in the long run. Our opponent's going to try to use this Dark Beckoning Beast to, I believe, yeah, add a Sacred Beast or a card that supports them, but no, I'm definitely going to flip Impermanence. That leaves our opponent's only option to just to link away for the, you know, Almirage in their extra deck, which, fortunately, they don't have a follow-up, so... We have a clear board, and we have a Turquoise Warbler, so that is going to be far more than enough to lethal our opponent here. We even had the Lightning Storm, but we didn't need it. I remember chat telling me to BM by playing... I think it was even just Birdman telling me to BM by playing the Lightning Storm here. But no, we have the Warbler for the Sparrow, for the Barrel Canary, for the Wagtail, for the Bird Call, and, I mean, we could set up some fancy plays, but I'm just going to say screw it. Let's go back to this deck's roots and just smack him a bunch of times with a Assembled Nightingale. So, whoops, sorry, I bumped the mic there. Yeah, so this game actually showed that Lyrilusc has great potential, I think, for the Xyz event. This build kind of made me want to try out pure Lyrilusc a little bit more and see exactly what all they're capable of doing. Okay, so now from there we're going to move into our Zoodiac games. I gotta start with this one. Even though this was the last duel of the stream, and oh man, is it a good one. As you can see, it's 15 turns. So it is going to, in fact, be a very good one. It's funny because, like, you know, I played with Birdman's deck, I got a few good wins, and then we had a few bad hands, and I was about to end the stream, but, oh, I wish I could remember the user's name. It was Rick, was it Rick something? Or Richard something? I apologize if I'm misremembering your name. Yeah, our opponent's got the Psyframe Delta gear of all things for our called by, so that's like, pff, okay. Yeah, no, but I basically got peer pressured into like, oh, don't end the stream until you win. Like, we gotta end on a win. And I was like, yeah, you know what, you're right. We can't just end here. We gotta end on a win. So this was that last game. This was that last, right after that was suggested, we played this game. And then I'm really glad we did, because this was a great game to end the stream on. Yeah, as you can see, we're going to be playing against Numerons, but fortunately we have a Nibiru, so we're able to drop that in response. And while it is scary that our opponent has a 5600 attack token on the board, that is still decidedly less scary than the Numerons themselves. I decided to just set called by and pass here because, you know, I just want to leave the token because, again, the token is not as scary as the Numerons. Our opponent just passes back. I really think they actually misclicked there because if I recall correctly, they did actually enter the battle phase. They just forgot to switch the token into attack mode. I'm going to set Droll unlock here because I just want to fill up my graveyard for Avarice. Droll unlock, you know, assuming our Veiler gets sent at some point, being the 5th monster. Our opponent's going to set a monster of their own before passing back to us. Now here we did draw Desires, so we are finally able to, well, hopefully go into a play here. And as you can see, we got the Whiptail. So since we have the Zoodiac monster, we are able to move into some plays here. I'm going to start by overlaying Hammerkong and then go into Drident. I'm actually not even going to destroy the token here. I'm actually going to want to pop the Numeron network because my plan is to just attack directly with Boarbow and then go for a Zeus anyway. But in the event that my plan gets messed up, you know, I want to just make sure the Numeron network is gone so that they don't have any follow-up plays. It was arguably right to hit the token here, actually, because I still would have had the set monster that would have prevented them from making any plays with the Numeron network again, because for Numeron calling, I believe they have to control, it's either no monsters or no cards on the field. Let me take a look here. No monsters. Okay, so I go into the Zeus, right? And I figure, oh, just Zeus on their turn. But they had the Kaiju, so that definitely came back to bite me in the ass a little bit there. I was like, oof, alright, that's fine. But we actually have Pot of Avarice, so we're going to be able to do the same Drident and then Zeus play on this turn as well. Because as you can see, we can just use Avarice to put them back. Our opponent does have DD Crow, which actually really did scare me, but fortunately we have the called by. So we're able to negate that and we're going to get this play off anyway. Yeah, if our opponent had resolved the Crow, well, I mean, I'm sure we could have made some amount of plays. We did have the Whiptail in hand, so... but without our Zeus or a Drident, that definitely would have been very, very tricky. Yep, fortunately though, we're going to be able to get our Pot of Avarice there to resolve. We can go straight into the Hammerkong, and then from there into our other Zoodiac plays. Like I said, we're going to be doing more or less the exact same thing we did as last turn, except this time when we set up the Drident, we're going to pop the Primal Being token. Then we're going to go into Boarbow, attack directly, and then go into Zeus from there. I'm going to leave their set monster on the field so that they can't activate Numeron Network and get Numeron Calling's effect. You could argue that like, oh, why... Maybe we could have just set on Boarbow and kept attacking directly, but no, it's too easy for them to clear their own monster off the board. So no, I don't think just trying to get in pot shots with Boarbow and leaving it at that was the right play. I definitely wanted to set up the Zeus here. As you can see, they're just set some chump blockers, Numeron Wall, and Planet Pathfinder. So here I'm going to move the Zeus into attack mode. I'm going to summon Ramram, right? And then we're going to go into Chakanine. Chakanine is going to bring back a Thoroughblade. And then I'm going to Tigermoartar and use Tigermoartar's effect to set up some attack points on the Tigermoartar by attaching, I believe, Whiptail as a material. Or no, sorry, I just go straight into Vespenato for damage here. Yep, so I am going to attempt to go for a game. However, our opponent does have the Numeron Wall, so that is unfortunate. Technically, it was right to attack with Zeus here, but as always, I am the eternal person who plays around Gores, I suppose. Opponent has another Kaiju. Again, very, very annoying here that they were able to Kaiju Zeus not once, but twice. So they are going to get the Numeron play here. However, we do have another Nibiru. So we can just go ahead and give them a, again, scary big token, but not as scary as if, you know, the Nibiru, or not the Nibiru, as if the Numerons would have resolved. So here I decide that my best play is to go into Chakanine, and then from there just overlay straight into Tigermoartar. I'm going to detach the attached Chakanine I have in order to attach Whiptail to Tigermoartar. That way when I attack, I can not only banish the token, but I'll only take 1300 damage for attacking it as well. I can attack directly, not quite for lethal, but 600 is actually pretty good stage to have Numeron at, because they're not going to be able to get off their combo unless they attack into us with their 1000 attack Numeron, which at this stage they can't do without lethaling themselves. They are going to send away their number 1 in order to summon the Chaos number 1, which is going to try to banish everything and then deal damage to me when it succeeds summoned. But we've got the Effect Veiler to negate the gate. Right at the end, we get to negate their Numeron gate, which is their last way to kill us. And then with that, their last Numerons get banished. Yeah, they don't have anything left in the extra deck. I'm not even going to activate this Desires. I'm going to move straight into battle phase. And we get the Lethal Strike. What a game against Numeron. Holy cow. Yeah, was definitely a great duel to end the stream on. And from here, I've got a couple of other replays with the Zoodiac deck here. Excuse me, just had to do a little bit of a stretch in there. Yeah, like I said, this is still just a little while after the stream ended, so I should have gotten up and stretched before I just went straight into making this video. Okay, you can see this opponent's going to have a couple of back rows. We're going to start off with Desires. They have the Ash, but we have the Called By. So that is very fortunate for us there. And we get our Desires draws. We have the Tenki and the Thoroughblade. I'm actually going to add another Whiptail here. And our opponent is just going to concede. Wow, I didn't think I'd even saved that game. Okay, it wasn't, maybe not exactly a highlight game, but I think sometimes what it is like, oh, if I win, I just kind of like snap save the replay. Even if it's not necessarily a good game. I try to filter those out, so I apologize for not doing that in this case. I was just so excited to do this stream highlight video right after the stream ended. Whoops, I clicked on the wrong replay here. That is my apologies. I'm being a little sloppy here. Okay, I needed to click on this replay. This duel is 5 turns, so this one we know there's at least going to be a decent back and forth. Okay, yep, here we go. Ah, yes, I remember this game. This is my first time playing against pure Live Twins. I've played against decks that have Live Twins as an engine before, but I've never actually played against a Live Twin deck, so it's interesting to see what they can do here. You see they go into the... Oops. What's her name? Kasicli and Leela. Basically, Live Twins are all about having Kasicli and Leela out. If one isn't out, then they can bring the other one out, so... Yep, they were able to go into the link to Kasicli, which brought back the effect monster Leela, which brought back, which then let them go into, you know, the link monster Leela. Unfortunately, rather for us, this deck does do a lot of summoning, so they are pretty susceptible to Nibiru. And unfortunately, their monsters also don't have big stats, so they don't end up getting left with big tokens. I'm going to Feather Zester their one back row here. Now, something to keep in mind is that as a quick effect, I'm just trying to click on this. Yeah, Kasicli can bring back Leela, and then Leela's quick effect when she's brought back can destroy a card in the field. So that's why I went for Drident here. And I'm going for the Leela because if I destroyed Kasicli, then Leela could just bring Kasicli back. So yeah, definitely just want to go ahead and get rid of their Live Twins, both of them. We don't have a backup play at this point, or not a backup play, rather we don't have a follow-up play for this turn, but we have follow-up plays for next turn, both for the fact that we have Whiptail out and an Avarice in our hand, which we unfortunately have not set up quite as much as I would have liked to, but it's still going to be fine. So you see they're going to summon a Kasicli, another one rather, and then from there they are going to go into yet another Kasicli, because they already had a Leela monster on the board. And they can only summon a Leela monster if they don't have one. So that's why they linked into another Kasicli there. So yep, Leela comes back, destroys Nibiru. They both attack directly before our opponent passes back to us. Opponent is going to flip Dark Factory of even more production. so they can, you know, potentially get Kazikli's effect. I'm going to Lightning Storm the Kazikli, though, so that way they can't set up a Destruction. And I'm not concerned about either of these spell or trap cards, so I don't feel the need to Lightning Storm the back row here. Yep, with this deck, as long as you're able to get rid of the twin, they can't keep bringing back the other twin, so that's kind of the way to play around it. Just make sure they don't have even one twin out. I'll set up the Whiptail in attack mode, not only for a potential play next turn, but also just to get a little bit more damage in here. As you can see, I'm also able to set up a Tigermoartar with the other Whiptail that's in my graveyard for even more damage. Going to go into Boarbow here, mostly because, like, I don't really know if this deck has battle hand traps or not, so I'll go into the Boarbow just to be safe, so that I can get the, you know, attack in with the Xyz monster, and then go into Zeus from there. Good old Zeusy. And even if our opponent answers our Zeus and our follow-up Whiptail, we've still got a Ramram and a Pot of Avarice. They are going to be able to answer the Zeus, though they do have a big old turtle. And, yep, they aren't able to draw the out from there, and they give us the win. Alright, so those are just a few of the replays from the stream that I did on the evening of the 14th. Remember, if you want to check out the whole thing, I'll even throw a link to it in the description here. But it's also available, the VOD on my channel, as well as my first stream, although I'll warn you, if you watch the VOD of my first stream, we had audio issues throughout the whole stream, so fortunately we did not for the second one, though, so that was nice. Without further ado, that is going to do it for this video. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you as always. This is Hexlex, signing out. I hope you have a fantastic day.